Hi, my friend. Welcome to Inspire to Run podcast. I have the pleasure of sitting down today with Ricardo Mullinax, who is a father of four, and he enjoys coaching clients to do their best in all areas of life, especially in hybrid sports such as Spartan DECA. He has coached several athletes to the podium at World Championships and many more who qualified and participated. Coach Ricardo is the co host of the podcast Ricardo's Rules of Resilience and enjoys talking to groups about what it takes to recover from difficulties. Welcome to the show, Coach Ricardo.
Thank you, Vera. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. And, I'm really excited to talk about your incredible journey, which I heard just a little bit about. So I'm excited to hear it from you and also share it with our listeners and also talk about rules of resilience and the work that you're doing with Underdog Fitness. And this is part 2 of our series. And we're talking to the new Underdog coaches. So excited to hear about the work that you're doing there. So, let's kind of just jump into the conversation and hear, just a little bit about your fitness journey and some of the things that you've been through throughout your career.
Well, the first part of my fitness journey is rather unremarkable. I was, an athlete in high school. I did play 1 year of college football. I did stay active in my 20s, coaching wrestling, and I got into some running. But I had some things happen that really slowed me down. I have 2 steel rods in my back that are about a foot long. So for medical people, I have a 9-level spinal fusion. If you've heard anybody talk about having a disc fused, I have 9 of them fused from thoracic 5, T5, all the way to the second lumbar or L2. And the surgery is really great. I'm very, very thankful for it. It was correcting what's called Scheuermann's kyphosis. Very thankful for it. But, when you have 9 joints in your body that are supposed to be articulating and moving and they're not moving, then the joints above and below have to start making up for that. And so below those in my lumbar spine started to really get worn out and a lot of arthritis to the point when I think it was 31 or 32. The doctor looking at it said, just looking at this, I would say you have the spine of a 70-year-old man. That, and also I just got overwhelmed with life when my first son was born. I was about 29 and I was living in the north side of Chicago, working on the west side. My son was born. His mother was going through, the difficulties that come postpartum. And I just got overwhelmed with life. I put on a bunch of weight, at 30, which a lot of us do, former athletes who were used to eating so many calories and I wasn't burning them off anymore. And put on a bunch of weight and I'd get some off here and there. But for the next decade, I stayed obese until I was turning 40. And I met somebody who said, I'm going to help you. And so he helped me and he'd grade my food journal and he gave me functional fitness. Growing up in the 80s and 90s like I did, it was, all about pumping iron and running. That's pretty much what we did. Well, discovered functional fitness and ropes and kettlebells and different movements, working your body through ranges of motion rather than isolating it, and just loved it, fell in love with it, changed my fitness journey tremendously. And through a whole series of events that I it's not the subject of this podcast, but a few years later, I ended up opening up a gym. It was a functional fitness gym. And I did that for about 4.5 years. And during the course of owning that gym is when I discovered hybrid racing. Hybrid, meaning that you may have running and you've got functional fitness. And DECA just fired me up again because even with my joint issues, I could participate. There's 3 different kinds of DECA. One of them has no running. And that was yes, okay. Because I'm not a great runner, as you can imagine, running with steel rods in your back. I compare my running to a dog walking on its hind legs. It's awkward, kind of hard to look at. It's not done well, but then again, you're just surprised it's done at all. So, but I could do these hybrid events, and just started loving it. And saw what it was doing for people in my gym, people, athletes, of any age, of any fitness level, and fell in love with it and just really got into it to the point now that I I actually go around to gyms and put on DECA roadshow events at those gyms so that they can experience it and fall in love with it as well.
That's really incredible. And, I'm thinking about your personal journey with your family and then your medical journey and the surgery to be able to do what you're doing today is absolutely incredible. And I'd love to talk to you a little bit more about, kind of going through that process. And the pillars that we talk about on the show is mindset, movement, and motivation. So at the time after the surgery, and then you mentioned that you put on some weight. How did you get into that mindset of, hey, I want to make a change and I want to kind of do something different here? Like, was the catalyst your friend, or was there something else that kind of triggered you to say, now's the time?
I had been miserable by the time I got to the place where I could take the weight off. I had had it on me for a decade, and so from 30 to 40, I was turning 40, and I do what most of us do. I get the weight down, and then pop it back up, and and I was just about a month or so, maybe two, from my 40th birthday, and a friend of mine wanted me to take his son surfing, and we went surfing. He sent me pictures, and I remember that night. I'm sitting on the couch in the recliner looking at these and just disgusted and hopeless, because been a decade of me trying to get this off and just was not successful. And so, just that discouragement to the point of I want to give up. I hate seeing myself in pictures. I'm always hiding behind my kids in photos. I got to make sure that I get the right size shirt that fits the right way so it doesn't look, hides my belly, and, all the aches and pains, the lethargy, everything that goes with having too high of a body fat percentage. So I was ready. You could say I was desperate for it. I just really really wanted life to be better. And so when I had someone who said they would help me, let me tell you, I grabbed a hold of that like a drowning man grabs a hold of a lifeline. I said, this is my ticket out of this, and I just would not let go.
Well, great that you did that, and congratulations again. And it sounds like functional fitness was right for you. And, I'm wondering, for someone who's in a similar situation, they maybe put on weight, or maybe they feel a little hopeless and they've tried different things that haven't worked. What is it about functional fitness that you think really kind of helped you kind of get to where you are today?
Well, for one thing, when you've got a career and you've got kids and you're trying to do well at both of those, there's not a whole heck of a lot of time left. So, instead of, four sets of 10 and you're walking around for your 60 seconds or 90 seconds or in between or whatever, 45, 50, 60 minutes of functional fitness, three, four times in a week, you're revving that metabolism up super high, especially when you're doing the high intensity interval training model. You're revving that metabolism up. You're doing a whole lot of stimulation of muscle growth. And, you're just going to see tremendous results for that, for the time invested. So, I just made it my goal that every week I was going to get three of those no matter what. And sometimes it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Sometimes life just got away from me, and my three were Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but I'm going to get them. And, there was a handful of time over maybe 6 years where I only got two, but then I'd make up for it by getting four the next week, because I just was not going to let this go. So functional fitness also, traditional weightlifting, it requires a lot of equipment, and functional fitness, man, I've used, 5-gallon water jugs, I've used rocks, pieces of wood, and because you're taking your body through a range of motion, integrated movements rather than isolated movements, you're working more of the body at once. So it's tremendously time efficient. It's tremendously equipment efficient, cost effective in those ways. And so, for when you're 30s, 40s, 50s, and you got a whole lot of life going on, you still got to take care of yourself, but you just don't have 2 hours to spend at the gym 3, 4, 5 nights a week. That functional fitness can do a whole lot for you.
Yeah, and I love what you said there, especially about the time part. So, I've been thinking about this lately where I'm now training for a marathon. And even before I was training for a marathon, I've
Mhm.
high mileage a week. And, just these last couple of weeks, I really kind of crunched my running days kind of into that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Last week was probably Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
But, just not enough time. So it's really interesting that you mentioned that because I've been kind of dealing with that for a while now. So that's great to know that functional fitness is a good solution for someone who is in my situation, just trying to combine different sports and training for different things, but someone who just generally doesn't have a lot of time or equipment. As you mentioned, this is a nice option for them.
And speaking of that, that blood flow restriction is another tremendous advantage. It has amazing advantages. Physical therapists have been using blood flow restriction for years, but another reason for it is you can accomplish a whole lot and get your body into that good anaerobic conditioning and stimulate the human growth hormone release and do it in very time effective ways. I use the B3 Sciences bands. That I just love how that product is made and the different chambers. But that blood flow resistance training has that same advantage of getting you really good results while also cutting down on the amount of time.
So, let's switch gears a little bit, but kind of on the same topic. So, you mentioned, a little bit about kind of the age where you really started to kind of transition into this form of workout and exercise and fitness. And I know that's a little bit of your focus, right, as a coach. So, let's talk about that. I want to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're really focusing on folks that are maybe 40 plus in terms of fitness and those that you work with. So, tell me a little bit about that. Like, for someone who's 40 plus, just talk a little bit about, what are the needs of those folks and what is it that you offer, again, kind of around those pillars around mindset, movement, and motivation.
Well, I do a whole lot with mindset for people of any age. That's the Ricardo's Rules of Resilience podcast that you mentioned. We talk a lot about mindset, which is pretty universal. But, again, time effectiveness is a big need. Like I mentioned, you're in that time of life where everything has serious demands on you. You're pretty much at the zenith of your career in terms of the amount of demand on you. You're also at a very demanding time, usually in terms of child rearing and, kids and sports and everything that many people have to try to balance. So, time effectiveness is a big one for people over 40. Also, for people over 40, we usually fall into one of two camps. Either my clients have been athletes their whole lives and are hard charging go getters. They've never let off the gas once. Or they, like me, lost their way for a long time and are trying to come back. And in both cases, they have this in common. They feel like there's no time to waste. We got to pedal to the metal. It's 90 miles an hour. I can't let up. And in both cases, we have to learn that less is more and to trust the process. And, zone two training is big, and getting them to see and understand the benefits of the zone two training and understanding, no, if I gave you a 60-minute workout, it's not good for you to finish that and then go for another 5 mile run afterwards. I've thought this through. This is on purpose. And, less is more, and more is not always better. So those are some of the things that people over 40 face, as well as, not um, not giving up when they feel, it's either put the pedal to the metal, I'm never too sore, you can't stop me now, or it's, oh, I think I'm going to fall apart. I better, and get we get an injury or we get something that happens and think, oh, well, I better just shut everything down because, I can't go have a surgery or whatever. And so, okay, no, we do need to stop using this, and we do need to focus shift the focus a little bit, but we don't need to quit, and we don't need to just go back to the couch.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I'm thinking back to the two main types of clients that you work with. I'm definitely falling in that second camp where semi athlete in high school. And then I went to college and started a family and worked full time and just
Mm.
didn't prioritize fitness and exercise until just a few years ago, almost 10 years ago. And then in earnest, back in, I would say 2018 when I ran my first Spartan race, and that really kind of sparked kind of where I am today. So I definitely fall into that second camp, and we'll see kind of where life and fitness and races take me. But I could definitely relate to what you said there, and I'm so curious about the rules of resilience. And it's just asking you before we started recording, is this more of a philosophy, or do you have like specific rules? And maybe you've already touched on them already, but if you could share just a couple of those rules
Oh
of
yeah,
resilience.
there are. Yeah, I have the 7 rules of resilience. We won't go through all of them, but where they stem from was that over and over again in my years of owning the gym, I saw that there were common pitfalls. I kept having the same talk over and over, different areas. Like, okay, and I developed, what I hoped would be memorable sayings so they could keep it in their mind. And um, there's one time I was asked to give a talk to my mastermind group of other fitness professionals. And so that's when I first formulated them into the 7 rules. Before that, they'd just kind of been a go to list in my head of things that I say to my clients all the time. And I formulated those and really began to use those frequently, put them on shirts, whatever. And eventually it became the podcast of Let's Talk About Resilience. So resilience is defined in the dictionary as the ability to withstand and recover from difficulty. So, 2 aspects there: withstand and recover from. So, sometimes bad things are happening, life's kicking us in the teeth, and we just got to get through. That's resilience. Sometimes life not only kicks us in the teeth, it kicks us down on the ground and keeps kicking for a little bit, and we got to find a way to get back up. That's recover from difficulties. So the first one is that something's better than nothing. Okay, something's better than nothing. What gets us in trouble so often, whether it's because work was too demanding, or I had this and this happen at work, and then I had to run to my kid's game, and or whatever, and we feel like, oh well, I can't get in my full workout. I'm gonna just skip. No, no, don't do it. Don't do it. Something's better than nothing. And, people would tell me, oh, well, I was running late and I knew I was only going to get half the workout. So I decided not to come. And I'd tell them, look, I'm no mathematician, but, I'm pretty sure 30 minutes of a workout's at least 3,000% better than zero. So get it here.
That's right.
Something's better than nothing. So get it here. Let's get it done. Uh, so we have to realize that we can set ourselves up for failure and set ourselves backwards when we're not willing to just accept that not every day is going to be perfect, which is another rule of resilience, and that is that the perfect is the enemy of the good. The perfect is the enemy of the good. I had a lady one time in the weigh-in room, and we were talking about, did she do her food journal? Because whenever someone would come into the weigh-in room and they were mad about being up. Now, if somebody came up and their weight was up for their weekly weigh-in and they weren't surprised about it, I'm not saying this applied, but if somebody came in and they got on that scale and they were mad because their weight was up and they didn't lose, then I can guarantee what was about to happen. I'm about to ask, where's your food journal? And they're about to say, I didn't do it. Right. That's what's going to happen every time. I'm not psychic. I just know this is what's about to happen. Right. And, the lady said, I didn't do it. And I said, why not? Well, it takes too long. And I said, well, wait. What's a perfect food journal? A perfect food journal is one that takes 1 minute or less per meal. I just want you. And she's like, well, no, I got, they don't even have my foods in there. I went to put artisan bread and it didn't have artisan bread. So I pull out my phone and I open up, I type in artisan bread and there's, I don't know, 6, 8, 12 of them that pop up. She said, well, that's not my brand. Oh my goodness. So you didn't food journal. because they didn't have your brand of artisan bread. The perfect just killed the good. It would have been
Mhm.
good for you to Food Journal and pick any brand of artisan bread, but because you didn't hit the perfect, it killed the good, and that's why you're in here and you're mad because your weight is up this week.
Mhm.
And that happens
Mhm.
to us all the time. Well, I just didn't have a great workout. I was just sore and tired from yesterday, and we start poo pooing it, right? And we're mad because it wasn't perfect instead of celebrating the fact that it was good, which is another rule of resilience. Those who don't celebrate their wins will stop having them.
Mhm.
You keep getting done with a workout and saying, "Oh, well, it wasn't my best." Guess what? One of these days you're going to start to go to a workout and you're not going to be able to talk yourself into it because you've been beating
Mhm.
yourself up for so long. And instead of celebrating, I got a workout in, beating yourself up that you didn't win the Olympics that day. Like your soul can only take so much negative self talk, right? And if you keep not celebrating those wins and focusing on what's wrong instead of on what's right, you're going to talk yourself out of doing anything, right? So
Mhm.
when we get a win, I don't want to hear about what was wrong with it. I want to hear about what was right with it, you know? So those are just some of the rules of resilience. I won't talk the rest of the day. I have a whole podcast on it, so obviously I could talk a long time about the rules of resilience, but those are some examples.
No, no, I love that. I love that. And I feel like these are, you know, also life lessons, right? That you could
Yeah.
apply not only to fitness, but other areas of your life. So it's just so practical. And I appreciate you sharing that. So let's talk a little bit about kind of the work that you're doing with Underdog Fitness. So you're a new coach with Coach Kevin, and you're working through the Underdog training system. And so I love that. And this is, like I said, part 2 of the series. So let's talk a little bit about that. You know, what made you decide to join Coach Kevin and become a coach? And then again, who's kind of your ideal client, or who are you focusing on in terms of athletes and others?
I got a roll down. I don't know if it was in second roll down or what, but I got 2 roll down invitations for DECA World Championship in 2022. One of them was for the fit, and the other one was for the strong. And I was like, oh man, I'm getting invited to a world championship. I don't care that, I mean, at that time it was the top 12 and I'm like 26 or something, but I got the invite. I'm going to go try it. I don't care if I'm the little engine that could in the back of the pack. I'm going to do this. So I went to that 2022 world championship in Atlantic City. Two of my older daughter got 2 world championships. She got the strong and the fit as a world championship in the 14-17 age group and got second in the mile. I think I have that backwards. I think it was second in the strong and first in the mile. My younger daughter in the 10 to 13 age group got second in the world, and some of our other clients did pretty well. And I was standing there watching people my age up on that podium. And I'm like, why not me? Why can't I do that? Particularly the strong. Cause like I said, I know I'm not a fast runner, but I don't have to run to do the strong, you know? So I'm like, why not me? And that was right before Thanksgiving. And right around the first of the year, I took it in my head. I said, man, I'm going to try to win a world championship. I'm just going to try. I've seen other things that I wanted to do and went and done them before. I just want to try this. And so I set that to my mind, and I managed to connect with the world record holder, world champion at that time. His name's Ryan Kent, and he coached me a lot in 2023. Ryan's a tremendous guy, taught me so much, took so much off of my time in terms of reducing my performance time. Learned a lot from him. Very thankful for him. And but through that year of 2023, as we went to different events, my kids kept connecting with Kevin. Even in Atlantic City, my kids had refed him, and my son's like, that guy, he's really funny. he has this clown voice, and they call him Bubbles, and so they were connecting, and unbeknownst to me, Kevin's wife Jess and I, we connected through because someone else there, actually a DECA staff, was having a very difficult circumstance that happened to him with a volunteer and a false accusation and everything. And Jess and I were there becoming friends as we were helping Mark a little bit through that situation. I had no idea she was related to Kevin. And then again, through all of 2023, my older daughter races against Kevin, I think at Knoxville and also in North Carolina, Charlotte, and then at Dallas last year, Kevin and I are helping set up for Worlds, and we just start chatting and talking a little bit, and I'm getting to know him, and I'm definitely interested in everything he's doing, and afterwards, after the 3-day competition is over, and of course during that time he won like 5 world championships or something, but we end up going to the same restaurant, barbecue restaurant, and seeing each other there, and talk a little bit. And I'm like, hey, that program you mentioned, I would be interested in just trying it, just to see, what the differences are. I mean, you can learn from more than one master, different strokes, and so I ended up trying it out, and just have really benefited from the underdog training system. It's helped me lower my time more, and by the grace of God and through some good coaching, I am blessed to say, I'm thankful and grateful to say that I did finish the regular season on the top of my age group in the DECA Strong. And so obviously it's
Congratulations.
working. Thank you. Thank you. So it's working for me. I've learned so much from it. And because I had sold my gym this year, I had coached my own clients to several podiums, finishes at the World, and done a lot of good stuff there. But having sold my gym, I was available, and Kevin asked me if I could come under the underdog system, and a very natural thing for me. I mean, I love the system, I love what it does, and so for me to get to work with some underdog clients is great.
That's incredible. It's almost like the universe just kind of brought you two together, and that's wonderful that you're here now to help and support, athletes. And I'm really excited to see the work that you do. So congratulations on, getting to podium. Congratulations on, where you are in world championships, and as well as joining the underdog team. So,
Well, I haven't
kind of
podiumed yet. The championship's coming up in
oh,
December. So, I'm training hard. I don't take it for granted at all. We'll just have to wait and see what happens on that day, right? It's who's the best that day. So, you got to bring your
well, I'm
best.
speaking it into existence then.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you.
So kind of as we wind down here, so I love everything that you shared in terms of your journey. Just incredible doing the work that you're doing, considering the journey that you've been on and how you're helping others. And I love the rules of resilience. So I definitely have to check out all 7 with your podcast. So just as we wind down here, what is the one thing in your journey that you're most proud of?
Oh, most proud of. I like to talk about what I'm grateful for because pride goes before a fall. So I would say that I am most grateful for the fact that I have got to do so much of this with my 4 kids. We have had just tremendous times together, attending the World Championship or refereeing together, the events we've done at local gyms, and coaching each other through, and being there and having each other around when we get these. And so the fact that my kids and I have gotten to connect at these events, and I've gotten to model for them the importance of living a healthy lifestyle, and discipline, and all the good things that sports teach us. I'm so grateful for that. That it's not a solo journey of dad does something and comes home, but it's us. We're in this together.
I love it. I love it. Coach Ricardo, thank you so much for spending time with me today. Really appreciate it. I'd love to end with how can our listeners find you, follow you online, as well as sign up with you as their coach?
Yeah, great. So, if you'd like more talk on resilience, it's Ricardo's Rules of Resilience podcast. If you'd like me to come talk to your group or team or business about resilience, get a hold of me through social media, Coach.Ricardo on Instagram or Ricardo Mullinax on Facebook. And if you reach out to me those ways, we can also talk about getting you into the underdog training system and joining the tremendous team that Kevin has put together and see what we can do for you to be your very best.
Sounds good. So, as usual, I'll put that information in the show notes to make it easy for listeners to find you. Coach Ricardo, thanks again. Thanks for coming on the show. Good luck for the rest of this year and have a great rest of the weekend.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.